Hello, God bless you, and welcome to episode 18 of Unshackled Life Q&A. My name is Dalen Woodard, and I am a Bible teacher and assistant pastor at Nacogdoches Christian Fellowship and founder of Unshackled Life Ministries in Nacogdoches, Texas. These Q&As cover questions about God, the Bible, and theology, and we will examine the questions from a biblical perspective and using biblical thinking, meaning approaching the question from a biblical worldview and using the text in context with the passage where it is found, as well as keeping it in context and agreement with the entirety of Scripture. At the end of the Q&A, I will give you ways to ask your own questions for future episodes. Also, I would like to thank the person who asked the question we will be covering today. So let's get to it. Question: do aborted babies and infant children who die and go to heaven grow up in heaven? But before I begin answering this question, I first want to apologize because it has taken me a few weeks to answer. When I first approached this question, I began researching and trying to answer the question of what happens to babies who die in the womb or after birth but before accountability. There's a lot to that question because there are differing views among Bible-believing and Bible-loving Christians regarding several aspects that would need to be addressed, such as, do we go instantly to heaven after death or wait for the resurrection? Are Christians alive at the return of Christ, kept alive on earth during the millennium, or do they go to heaven at his return? And do children who have not yet reached accountability go to heaven, or does something else happen? Not all Christians believe the same things about these issues, and so I felt like I needed to address each possibility that has a strong biblical basis for their position. But I couldn't figure out how to answer all of that without this being at least 3 hours long. Then it hit me. I need to answer the question that was asked, and that question has in its foundation two assumptions. Since these assumptions are both within what many Christians believe and can be defended biblically, I am going to answer based on the assumptions being correct. These two assumptions are that when a Christian dies before the return of Jesus, they go to heaven right then. The most well-known defense of this belief is 2 Corinthians 5:8, which states that we would rather be absent from the body and present or at home with the Lord, depending on translation. The second assumption is that babies and children who haven't reached the age of accountability join believers in heaven upon death. This also can be defended biblically, but it is more based on the whole of Scripture rather than any particular verses, as the opposing view is also based, because babies and heaven are never specifically addressed in Scripture. So this answer focuses only on the question as asked and will be based on these two assumptions being correct without addressing what happens according to other views. The answer to will babies grow up in heaven depends on what is meant by grow up. If it means to age and grow as in the normal progression of life on earth, then the answer is no. Babies will not grow up in the transformed heavenly bodies they receive any more than we will continue to age. Aging physically ceases in heaven, as there is no decay or degradation any longer. Now, we don't know exactly what age anyone will be. There are many theories. But what most Bible scholars and teachers from across denominational lines agree on is that everyone will be in prime condition, complete, perfected, whole, and healthy, able to worship and relate to God in His presence. There will be no handicapped, super young, or super old. So there won't be babies in heaven because they will receive transformed bodies, and part of the transformation will include size and age. Their spirits will be mature, and they too will know as they are known, and able to participate in heaven the same as everyone else. And that also means their bodies will match that completed perfection. Of course, that also means that the answer might be yes, if grow up in heaven is simply meant to express that they will no longer be babies or children. So no to growth in heaven. Remember, I am not addressing life on earth during the millennium reign of Christ, but only heaven itself. But all are transformed mature without being aged or old. This is the biblical answer to the question asked, but I hold it loosely because I hold both of the assumptions loosely, as the exact state of how, when, and what of our presence in heaven isn't as clear-cut as some might like to think. But what we can know that we know that we know is this: God is perfectly just, and the innocent will not be punished. That however and whenever those who trust in Jesus get to heaven, it will be done in the best way, and it will be right, just, and merciful all at once. No one in heaven, regardless of age or physical state upon death on earth, will be physically impaired or hindered from life in heaven or relationship with God. When we get there, we will understand and also be in wholehearted agreement with how God has handled this and all other aspects of transitions from this material life to the next. All right, thank you for listening. I hope the answer to today's question helped you in some way. If you have a question about God, the Bible, or theology, you can email your question to dalenwoodard@minister.com. That's DALYNWOODARD@minister.com. Or go to the Unshackled Life Ministries Facebook page and ask there or through DM. Find me, Dalen Woodard, on Twitter and ask there, or reply to this video on YouTube. May the Lord bless you and keep you and give you an ever-deepening hunger for His Word. Help us spread the word by sharing, commenting, and clicking that like button. Keep up to date on the Q&As by subscribing to this channel. And remember, when you fix your thoughts on God and build your thinking on the foundation of His truth, God fixes your thoughts.